I was honored to be asked to participate in Carnegie Hall's 100th anniversary year. It was Judith Arron, I think, who was the first person to suggest that as part of the centennial celebration, we gather a chorus from around the country to spend the better part of a week in New York City, preparing the Brahms Requiem, culminating in a performance at Carnegie Hall. We decided to use a corps of singers and conductors who had worked together in our festival in France and who were familiar with our techniques. And then we opened up participation to chorus masters from all over the United States. Carnegie Hall took care of mailing notices to the extensive network of conductors that exists. We had more than 400 applicants. Each sent a tape, and eventually it was narrowed down to a balanced 145 singers from 35 states, as well as 65 auditors.
Robert Shaw has been part of the Carnegie Hall family since the 1940s, when he founded the Collegiate Chorale and brought it to our stage. At the same time, he was leading the Fred Waring Glee Club in daily national radio broadcasts. So respected was his work that he was invited to prepare choruses for Arturo Toscanini, Bruno Walter, and Serge Koussevitzky. In 1947, he formed the Robert Shaw Chorale, with which he toured and recorded for the next 17 years. He was selected by George Sell to be Associate Conductor and Director of Choruses of the Cleveland Orchestra in 1956, a post he held until he was appointed Music Director and Conductor of the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra in 1967. Mr. Shaw built the Atlanta Symphony and its chorus into one of America's best-regarded ensembles. Since 1988, he has been Atlanta's Music Director Emeritus and Conductor Laureate. Throughout all these years, Robert Shaw has set the standard in America for excellence in choral singing. Just as there is only one Carnegie Hall, there is only one Robert Shaw, and we want to share him with as many people as possible.
While very few of us make our entire livings with our voices, most of us are associated, at least circumferentially, with some aspects of professionality in music. And it is our trust, it seems to me, and our intention that in the next 2 or 3 days we can turn out a really first-rate musical product by bringing these stores of musicality, which are not necessarily vocal, are not limited at least to vocal, by intensity and by good musicality, turn out a really significant performance of one of the great products of Western civilization. Our rehearsal premises are two. First, we don't want to waste vocal gold. We don't want to wear out voices in rehearsal, and we're serious about that. And second, we don't try to handle all of the choral disciplines at one and the same time. As a result, we do a lot of very, very light singing. Indeed, so light that we find it unnecessary in the first rehearsal to sing except for occasional relief above a piano. And we feel that the first rehearsal should avoid complicating the learning process by trying to learn text, pronunciation, and dynamics. So we'll work very, very, very quietly. We move now to beginning rehearsal, and I want to say a word or two about warm-ups in beginning rehearsal. It's been my experience through the years in both rehearsal and performance situations that a chorus benefits from a sort of a warm-up period before they get ready to go on stage, or preferably actually on stage. But I've not found it productive to engage in that sort of sort of a vocal tyranny that used to terrorize my early years. Our warm-up procedures then are calculated, one, to achieve a sensitivity to pitch and rhythm, and two, a sensitivity to the stresses of dynamic change and vocal color, but not the first time, and to become acquainted with our acoustical space. Let's do a few things of warm-up first. Will the back row stand first? You may want to, this This doesn't improve your voice at all, but it makes you feel a lot better. I mean, just stretch. And almost all voice teachers, as you know, agree about almost nothing. But one thing they agree, that at least in my experience, is that a yawn doesn't hurt anybody. And if you get yourself a little loose, and you people who are sitting down, sit as straight as you can and a little forward on your chairs, and then take this. I mean, has this thing got pedals? Yes, well, got pedals 3. Sing as quietly as you may be possible. N-double-O, new. Again. Sing knee, N-double-E. Crescendo. Slow crescendo. And brighten at the same time. Now we begin to use the room, and we'll find out that there isn't a great real difference between the piano and the forte. It fills the room with the same sort of N-double-E again and brighten. To forte. Now, short attacks that last for 1 beat and about a second. It is slow. Sing new, off, new, off, new, off. Piano, pianissimo. Now, in 16, raise this pitch. In 16 attacks, raise this pitch to a half step up, which means that we're sharpening a 1/16 of a semitone with each attack. Ready? 3, 4. We should be halfway between now. Don't rush. Now, what the great temptation will be to stay with this note. And then as soon as you smell this one, to move in a hurry, you know. And you will also find that it'll be easier to sharp as you sing the note rather than during the silence, and come in a 1/16 of a step up, you see. Ready? 3, 4. Our warm-up exercises begin with trying to teach some familiarity with what good intonation is, and so we begin with a very, very quiet voweling on a middle low pitch, which is in everybody's register, and then ask them to heighten that pitch. But we ask a very specific thing, and that is to move from, say, an E natural to an F natural, which is the next adjacent note on the piano, not by moving up that half step, but by moving up to that half step in increments of 1/16, so that they arrive though they begin on E natural, they arrive on F natural 17 steps later. Now, we're fooling ourselves a little bit because nobody can do it, but there's somehow a wonderful sort of group instinct and group sensitivity that makes this sort of an exercise possible, and makes everybody immediately acutely sensitive to sharpness or flatness of tonality. It's also considerably more difficult to sharp because of harmonic implications. Take bass and alto on the low, on the D, and this is an F sharp for the sopranos and tenors. Try to sharp this in 16 steps. And keep it in tune. Going to be a good choir. Now, as quietly as possible, sing new, begin on new, and substantially begin with head voice, even in this sort of middle register. And it's because we're going on up, and then Let's sing. Nu, begin. Keep the ah vowel very, very quiet, and it's all right if you want to slide a little bit, you know, but keep the ah vowel very, very quiet and absolutely in tune. 3 and 4. Nu, off. Use falsetto and head voice. Use gentlemen, falsetto. The instantaneous assessment was that it was going to be very good. And that was due particularly to our sort of, they're called warm-up exercises. They're not really warm-up exercises in the sense we obviously don't teach voice mass voice. Voice again is so special and so personal that I'm sure that some things can be taught in class, like posture and breathing, and there are some fundamentals, but the specifics of each voice is so innately and acutely different that it's difficult to do any of the very, very either the very severe changes or the very sensitive changes that might be possible in teaching voice, other than to do them person by person. Bravo. 2 parts. Use 8 beats to do it. Crescendo and brighten the tone. 3, 4. Brighten it to the point that it becomes unusable. That is to say, it becomes over bright and somewhat ugly. It won't hurt us in this register, but at least experience what an over bright sound is. 3, 4. Move from dark to bright. That is to say, don't begin bright. Crescendo and move from dark to bright. Great. Move from bright to dark and pianissimo to forte. Both sounds ought to be a part of our arsenal. 1, and then quarter note rest. Ready? Sing ni, ni, ni. 3, 4. Quarter note rest. All right, now begin forte and do 8 of them and get to piano. And within each one, within the quarter note, a little bit of crescendo. 2, 3, 4. Now you still got 5 to go, 3 to go, and your piano. You don't know what a diminuendo is, it calls for enormous energy to make one. Ready? 2. Begin. Let's make it even more difficult. Begin double forte, and then poco double forte, and then forte, and then poco forte, and then mezzo forte, and then poco mezzo forte, and then mezzo piano, and then poco mezzo piano. So you have double forte, forte, mezzo forte, mezzo piano, piano, double piano. You have 6, but you have 12 because you have the half dynamic in between. This is double forte, and each one has a crescendo in it. 3, 4. Poco double forte, forte, poco forte, mezzo forte, poco mezzo forte, mezzo piano, poco mezzo piano, piano, poco piano, double piano. But now you forgot the crescendo in each one. Which is terribly difficult. The point is that the diminuendo has to be energized constantly. Sing no, 2, 3, 4. No, no, no. We're going to do a lot of what we call count singing, because I find it's the fastest way to unify sectional sounds and to unify metric divisions. And we use, instead of singing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, because 3 has the TH and the R, which takes a lot of time and will delay the vowel, we sing 1 and 2 and T and 4 and. Slowly, on unison, 3 and 4. 1 and 2, yeah. Half that loud. 2, 3 and 4 and 1. Again, repeat, and 1. Now, 1 and a 2 and a T and a 4. 1 and a 2. Good, 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 good. And we'll begin right at the top. Three and 4 and 1, 2 and 1 and 2. Count singing numbers. And someplace between 3 pianos and 2 pianos. Two 4-measure phrases, and then 2 3-measure phrases, and it works beautifully out. If you have the T, put it on. Put it on 2, see? Intonation, and 1 and 2 and T, 4 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 and 1 and 2. Crescendo for 1 beat, diminish for 1 beat. 1 and 2 and 4 and 1. Don't forget the diminuendo. 1, 2 and 4 and 1. Crescendo. Crescendo and 1 and 2. He reads shouldn't be asked to handle all of music's facets at once, all of their responsibilities or all of their devices. That is to say, we try to take out all matters of textual management or textual discipline, and also all disciplinary factors of dynamics, so that one is singing substantially within a piano to double piano range, and one is sort of counting the notes and or singing them with nonsense syllables rather than singing with text. We find that if we can use these sort of musical disciplines rather than textual disciplines from the beginning, we can get a cleaner product and one which is more refined musically. I remember when I first came with Mr. Sell in the Cleveland Orchestra, I asked him one time after I'd been there for a few months why he'd hired me in that capacity as an associate conductor. In particular, my responsibility is conducting the choral programs. And he said, well, Robert, he says, because you treat the chorus the same way I treat an orchestra. And I hoped it didn't mean that at that moment that it was the severity with which he occasionally treated his orchestra, but he meant, I think, that we were using what were primarily
almost instrumental disciplines to pursue choral degrees of finesse and nicety and cleanliness as he used in his orchestra.
Also want to sing like that. 1, 1, 2, and if it just has a little separation, you know, it will help. All right, let's have the second staff, 195. And now, 1. Tenors also, and 1, 2, and T, 1, 2, T, 1, 2, and T, and 1, 2, and T, 1, 2, T, and 1, and T, and 1, 2, and T, 4, and 1, 2, T, 4, 1, and 2, and T. Right. Good. And it will do us good to sing T and 4 and 1 and 2 and T and sing the ands, because then we'll begin to place the end. This is terribly difficult to get those to go with instrumental clarity on the second and on the second eighths of the second and fourth beats. Let's begin right at the top of the page and begin right on the downbeat. And sing 1 and 2 and T and 4. 1, 2, ready. 1 and 2 and T. I'll just say things that occur to me. You'd be surprised how you can undiscipline a choir by beginning that with text the first time. I mean, you can just, you'll never get it right. You can't get there from here. But if you'll wait, you know, until our performance is Sunday at 3 o'clock. If we wait till about Monday afternoon before we put words with it, it'll be wonderful.
You have to sing the same note for 8 beats. Then you have to sing it, if you're singing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and you have to sing it 8 times right. You see, and then that means that people aren't sliding up to the pitch because they have to begin on 1, or aren't sliding off the pitch because then they have to sing 8 and on that pitch before they can go on to the next one. And this forces such a discipline of particularity that it just immediately clarifies a choral fabric.
Ready? Let's begin right at G. 3, 4, and 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 1. Now go down. 4. Don't do this. 2, 1 and 2 and T and 4 and 2 and T and 4. 1, 2. The tendency is to sing long notes slow and to sing short notes fast, which is a good tendency because obviously it's what the composer has in mind is more motion. But what you're doing is just killing the eighth note motion over here by being too slow on your quarters. Ready? Same spot, letter G. 3, 4, and 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yati people, no nuance of tempo. Nuance of tempo would be all right if it were a solo line, you know, and you had to never have anything but a continual chord underneath it. Then then you might be entitled to if the text were particularly expressive, you might be entitled to some nuance of tempo, but no unintended nuance of tempo. And when 4 voices plus whatever in the orchestra is going on is moving against you, you're not allowed, you know, to destroy qualities of tempo. 3, 4, and 1 and 2.
The reason we stay away from textual either stimulation or technical mastery for so long is because it's so difficult to combine with singing unless one knows very particularly what one has to do as to intonation and dynamics first and to rhythm. One can just simply ruin voices in a hurry by trying to do all of these things at one time. We try to do it constantly with very light or head voice until we feel that we sort of know the piece very securely in terms of its intonation and in terms of its rhythmic articulations and such.
Obviously, the next step is to do this kind of rehearsal with half singing text and half singing numbers. Odd numbers sing text, even numbers sing numbers, and when I say reverse, and then we'll reverse 2 or 3 times while we're going through at the same time. And the purpose now is not to get the vowels correct, wonderful, you know, Austrian, German, or whatever Miss Jones is going to have us sing here. but to get our consonants together and get the vowels arriving at the same time as the numbers. We begin with top page 20. People who are singing text sing more lightly than the people who are singing numbers. Ready? Because they'll keep you honest. And now, 1, 2, 3. You people who are singing text, two things. Don't allow yourself a vibrato every time you get to a beginning of a note. Save your vibrato for purposes of expressivity. Almost invariably, voices, and particularly choral voices, will, if they have any vibrato problem at all, which confuses pitch, you'll hear about it at the beginning of each note, you know, and rather than saving as the great popular singers have done, including Sinatra and others, and instead of saving vibrato as a means of expression, it's a given, and I can't get rid of the darn thing, sort of a thing. We don't hear any of that when you're counting numbers, you know. The notes are perfectly under control, but there shouldn't be any, we shouldn't hear any more of that when we're singing text than we do when we're singing numbers. Okay, let's go back top of the page and begin the same way. And a 3, 4, 1 and 2, 2 and 4, 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. The composer is concerned with the text. But if we're interested in finding how the composer is concerned with the text, then we satisfy the composer's musical directions, and we may get a little glimmer. But we don't get it by imposing our own religiosity on it.
I also must say that though we're very conscious of the fact that a composer begins with a text and that it's his inspiration in certain respects, but the responsibility of the performer, it seems to me, is to satisfy as nearly as he can the composer's language, and then seek what the inside of the composer the way he might have felt towards the text, rather than arriving at a textual, philosophical relationship with the text, which is one's own personal interpretation, and forcing that upon the composer.
Be sure that the vowels begin on the beat. Say f. Say v. You see, each of those is longer than a quarter note. And it has to be ahead of the beat. Now, we can shorten them, but the point is, get them ahead of the beat or ahead of the division of the beat. Ready? We go. 3, 4, 1. The way best to get this is to deny yourself the pleasure of singing consonants. Sing the vowels only. 3, 4, 1. A, E. A, E. Now sing numbers. Ready? And now. 1. That was better intonation than we had on the vowel when we were singing, you see. And gradually by doing a little bit of this at each rehearsal and stuff, and never, you know, and on the day of the performance go back to numbers and stuff like that, it begins to sharpen up intonation so that even on a very difficult vowel like an A, you can sing in tune. This reminds me that there is within every crescendo, you know, within every diminuendo, there's a sort of a moment of intensification too. For me, a diminuendo goes like this, you know, to reaches its point. For you, obviously that's a crescendo for you, Charles. I mean, it doesn't surprise. But the point is that while this is going, there may be all sorts of, you know, while it's getting down here, there may be all sorts of little curves down here. And the general sound is getting lesser, but there may be moments of intensification within it. Don't let a diminuendo be a collapse of energy, but an intensification of energy. What has to happen is that you get more and more energy into less and less tone. You know, more and more energy until it all becomes just like this. You lost a little bit of the cover as you went to the E vowel, to the slightly flatter vowel in terms of its quality. Don't lose that lovely color that you had. Give them the measure before. And 1, 2, 4, does. Bravo! And you know, it's just it's enormously difficult to be a singer. It's just terribly difficult. And the chief mistake we make when we, you know, is that we don't realize how difficult it is. We think, oh, you know, just and even a little thing like that takes all of a sudden the sweetness out of the line when the change of vowel doesn't keep the same warmth. What reminds me is that, and I think it's a cardinal principle, and we must hold to it, and that is that we don't say, you know, blend, you dummies. What one says is either the pitch is wrong, or the vowel is wrong, or the dynamic is wrong, or the vibrato is wrong, or something. I mean, to tell people to blend is you know, it's counterproductive. Get the vowel and the pitch together. Then we'll be all together. Bass, sing that pitch, new, quietly. Tenor, F sharp. Alto, E natural. Soprano, G sharp. We're going to begin top of page 38, and we're going to sing our text on these notes, absolute monotone, but with perfect rhythm. I'm beginning at measure 173. One tenors to begin. One die Geräten Seelen sind in Gottes Hand. With gorgeous enunciation, but like little percussion instruments. 2 and 3 and 1. Die Geräten Seelen sind in Gottes Hand. Do you hear that the syllable ga is not nearly as in tune as those that are coming up to it? Ready again? 3 and 4 and 1. Now, don't allow yourself vibrato at the instant of attack. Save it for the longer notes. 3, 4, and 1. No, you did not on. It was the last syllable of ruret was not in time. 3, 4, and 1. You didn't begin in time, ladies. You didn't begin in time. Come on. Now, and let's have final consonants. And 1. Gottes Hand und Gottes Hand und. Come on, get final T's. And 1. Speak. Gottes Hand und. What we're trying to accomplish here is the separation of textual problems from melodic problems and problems of dynamics. That is to say, each section is given its own monotone on which it phonates its own text, and as though it were a percussion instrument, so that the vowels and the consonants are particularly phonated absolutely together in each section, and then each section is given a different pitch. They happen to be sort of a whole tone cluster so that they can be easily identified, so that we can hear the multiplicity of text going on at the same time. If they were given the same pitch, one would not hear this as clearly as if each section is given a different pitch. Now begin. We're close enough to one another now so we can begin to develop, you know, a sort of camaraderie of counterpoint in terms of text. And begin to listen to other parts too. Sing your own part so quietly that you can hear at least 1 to 2 other parts. Begin with a tenor, with a bass entrance, at the top of page 42. And now 1. Good. place, guys, place your hectons not only against your own line, but place it against their quarter notes, see? And this is the point. And 3, 4, and 1, and for once, tap on your paper with one hand. Tap your rhythm. And 3, 4, 1, 2. Now you can hear over here that the tenor responses are enormously late, you know, and also enormously confused. It sounds like you're instead of ta 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 ta. We go again. Tap it. 3, 4, 1, 2. See that? Late, gentlemen. Once again, it should sound T. Ta 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 ta. 3, 4, 1, 2. Now, talk quietly only ta, 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 your own part, but always on ta. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Sing it on pitch. Ta and ta. On these pitches. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2. Talk text on this pitch. On these pitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. D. I stopped just because it occurs to me. Can you imagine how difficult that would be to try to get the right notes and the right text and the right dynamics all at once, you know, if one didn't engage in this sort of a breaking it down and making it possible for people to find out where it is. You're right to criticize this in your own mind, say, but look at this, this ignores the rise and fall of the melody, and you're militating against melody. Yeah, all we're doing is cleaning up text. And the melody, you'll be surprised how the melody will come back to you, you know. I mean, it will exert its own grace, but first we have to get these notes where they belong and these syllables where they belong. Bottom of the page, letter A, numbers 1 and 2 and 1. 1, 2, T4, 1, 2 with proper pitches. Give us measure 12. 3, 4, and 1. No louder than that, but numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. 1, 2. Oh, 1, 2. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, T, 2, T, 4. 1, 2, T, 4. 1, 2, T, 4. 2, T, 4, 1, 4, T, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now do it at proper dynamics. It doesn't go high enough to hurt anybody vocally, and we're ready to move a little bit now. And so make much of these crescendi and much of the diminuendo also. Same measures. Endo, 1. Working with training the choruses for the Casals Festival that I had heard him say, gentlemen, we don't play piano or forte, we play within piano and within forte, so that each note has a life in terms of its dynamics. It's either growing or receding, or sometimes both. Now, don't any of us deny ourselves the great excitement of being a little bit concerned with the dynamics of the phrase and the contour of the phrase in terms of its dynamics. I'm not talking now for a moment about text. I'm forgetting that. Try to recall what I quoted yesterday about Casals saying we don't sing piano and forte, we sing within piano and forte. All right? Never let two consecutive numbers be of the same dynamic. always crescendo or diminuendo. Try to stay within piano. Reach up to mezzo piano, but not beyond it. Reach down to double piano, but not below it, you know. But never let a tone go unsturned. Ready? And one. Now make dynamics. Two. One, two. Oh, 1, 2. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. 2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Don't slow down. 2. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, watch this, because this is a wonderful spot to learn this. Remember, today we were making diminuendi by putting silences in between. Put a staccato on ben ein, which is in measure 24, 25, 26. And the most delicious way to make a staccato, a crescendo will always be a poco sostenuto, and a diminuendo will almost invariably be a poco staccato. Not staccato, what I want to say, not sustained. No, non sostenuto. There's got to be one. Anyway, you understand? So you would sing das und mein Leben ein Ziel, and that will allow you to come to Leben ein and come down terrace-wise, and with a ever so slight separation. Now, take it all with numbers. Beginning, please, third measure, top of the page. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. That's not enough crescendo. That's enough crescendo had he written it, had he not written any, you know, because the ones that we put in for text or for phrasing purposes to give an arch to the phrase. But if he writes it, then be a little more concerned about it. 1 and 2. Don't forget that 2 and, the and of 2 is very, very quiet. Once again, give us one measure. Too much crescendo. You're lucky to get there. Don't try to force your hand, you know. Force your luck. You don't have to crescendo that. You just sort of look at it and smile, you know. And 1, 2, 3. Oh, 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2. Oh, 1 and no, I said don't do that one. Oh, didn't you remember? Now molto crescendo. Even within forte fortissimo singing, the change of pitch should not be the loudest part. Each tone must be allowed to bloom. Now that doesn't mean that you know. There used to be a comic in the old days called Jerry Colonna. Oh! And it doesn't mean that each tone should have that crescendo, but it means that it has to be, for a moment, it has to be fortissimo minus so that it can bloom to fortissimo plus. Now let's allow ourselves a little bit more expressiveness on text on fedoret, just a little bit. Exhausted. 1 and 2. Don't forget on a diminuendo that we're still responsible for a few flips of R's. Doret, a little bit, you know. Once again, that's wonderful. It begins to be, you know, when it becomes that personal, then it's so important that a chorus be personal, and I mean the whole meaning, obviously, the whole psychology and philosophy of a chorus is common, you know, is community and unity. But the things that most make it apprehensible to the listener are a fabulous nuance of dynamics. And then the choir becomes a single psyche, you know. And I'll be happy to, you know, I want to get out of the way of that happening. And the next thing is a little bit, which is almost the same thing, but a little bit of textual explication almost, overzealousness that becomes terribly, terribly personal. Das Gras. And 1 and 2. And das Gras ist in almost all instances, and I don't know why it happens. It doesn't happen in so much with piano rehearsal. It happens with orchestras. You'll stop singing on do, ret, and said do, ret. Put the T on the third beat. All right, be seated, everybody. Be seated. We can do two things. We can go back to counting quietly. 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 1, 2, 5, 6, 1, 2. Quietly, numbers. 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 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 2, T, and F sharp. A, very simple. A text. And 2 and 1. I don't hear your eighth notes, guys. I mean, come on. We're beginning at 144. We did this morning. Exactly, we're measure 144. 3 and 1. Back to top page 35, second measure, and 1. Text on proper notes, but no louder than that. And text, and 1, 2, and T, and 1 and 2. I don't, no. I come but don't hear three quarter notes in measure 6. 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2. No, don't. We're just not together on our third beats. Once again, and 1, 2, 3, 2, 2. Begin count singing, and 1 and 2 and don't be deep. Quietly. Text beginning 1 and 2.
When we stopped singing numbers and started to sing words, there's a wonderful, freeing, completing experience. But even more exciting was when we stopped singing a certain static chord, which we had done all morning long. All the texts we rehearsed, we sang on one chord. Finally, when he said, sing the notes that are on the page, that was like being let loose.
Everything. Quality of tone, quality of rhythm, quality of enunciation finally becomes spirit, you see. And if we fracture tone, we fracture the spirit. The great thing, I mean, the line I love so much is that art is the Christian theology has that the word became flesh. Well, maybe so, depending upon, where you stand theologically. But certainly, the flesh becomes word on a thing like this.
the right quality, the right acoustic, the right vibration, the right physical apparatus becomes spirit. If you, and that transition down as you go into what normally would be lower register, somehow blending the upper voice on down so that we don't hear, again, the downshift and the scratch of rubber. It makes an enormous difference. And no, deep, they're not precise enough. Again, 3, 4, and 1. None of that spectacular cohesiveness of rhythm is truth yet. But the point is that will never get truth without it. And it still is being disturbed by vocal problems, which exist. That is to say, heightenings and stuff, which it takes no wonder tenors hold on to their high notes. There's no way to get down, There's no way to get down. And so it's vocal, and it's also being disturbed by elements of enunciation. Anytime we sing numbers, it's absolutely clear. Begin at the same spot we began for a moment. Go back to what was the letter G, and sing nonsense syllables. Sing ta 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 or da da da, soft D, just for half dozen measures. 3 and 4 and 1 and da da da. Now sing na na na, sing na 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 na, na 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 na. And a 3 and a 4 and na. Everybody up, everybody up. And I don't care, but do something that conducts, Wiggle your ears or something. So that we're doing something physical along with the vocal thing. And don't make a big problem out of the vocal thing. And sing ta-da-da-da sing numbers for a minute. And 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Do the same thing, but odd numbers sing text. And 3 and 4 and 1. And everybody on text. Everybody on text, and somehow get choreatic. You know what choreatic means? It means Saint Vidacy. Make the voice carry the dance. It also has just a little touch of hysteria in it. Ready? 3 and 4 and 1. It's not, this is not facing all of the problems, but it's facing all of the problems we're capable of solving at this moment. That is to say, until we get this, we can't begin to add, if we begin to add the muscularity that we're going to need eventually, if we add it too soon, we'll never get it in gear, see? And 1, 2, and... The sweetest tone here, with a little clarity. Wonderful tone. Now a hair of crescendo more to Tristan. It was just glorious. Give us that lovely introduction, because that makes us sing nicely. 1, 2, 3. This was beautiful. hum. And if you can do that phrase, you don't need to sing the rest of the work at all. You know? Everybody can go home. Isn't it just glorious, just unbelievable? Now, I hear you stop the word wird. It must not stop. Es wird, diposa, to D. You may stop the word, but you cannot sing the T if you do. Who are those three people? Were they here today? And I just feel, let me just tell you, I feel this way, that if a community of like this can be broken by 2 or 3 people, by absences, you know, I believe that. Isn't that stupid? Same thing. And you know, and sing into the sound you hear till it feels good. Ready? 2, 3, 4. It only goes to show that all choirs would sound better if nobody watched the conductor. It seems to me that an orchestra needs to sing and a choir needs to play. You know, these are the needs. And as a matter of fact, there was a time when I was very uncomfortable with an orchestra with a stick. But almost from the beginning, I picked up a pencil and began working with a choir because it seemed to me that somehow it needed more particularity, and what the orchestra needed was a little bit of fluency and a little bit of, you know, wash of sound. And obviously, it leads me to say one thing about the warm-up thing. I believe very, very thoroughly. I don't know whether you feel it or not, and it doesn't sort of make any difference to me whether you do or not. I know that it sort of works for me. I hope that nobody copies these sort of things without making them your own. You know, it's just silly because it works for me that it should work for you. I hope it may give you, you know, make your own invention out of something that you heard or something you saw. But I'm very sure that the unison sort of sound that we now begin to get out of the sections comes directly from the warm-up, and not simply from the rehearsal techniques of count singing. Right from the beginning of rehearsal, you establish a sort of unanimity of sound that is very difficult to escape if you have somebody as nasty as I am trying to hold you to it.